Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bourbon Note. I'm Greg.
I'm Ben.
And today, we're drinking bourbon. And not only are we drinking bourbon, we're talking about a list. What's this list thing about?
Well, fellow whiskey tuber, your drinking buddy, recently did a list. Now he's our drinking buddy, obviously, because it says it right there in the title of his show. But
Yeah,
I don't
that's what
know
it's
if
called.
I don't know if we're his drinking buddies, because I don't know if he has ever seen our show.
Oh, he watches. Everybody knows about the Bourbon Note at this point.
I'll tag him.
Okay.
And just force him to be,
there we
for
go.
us to
Yeah,
be his drinking buddies
We're
as well.
friends, and you're gonna like it.
Yes. And so anyway, he's got a great channel. So go like, comment, and subscribe to Your Drinking Buddy. But he did a list, and it was like a top 5 summer whiskeys.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just, everybody kind of has their top 5 summers
Sure.
and falls and stuff like that. A lot of great lists out there. But he actually came up with some criteria for them, and I have them here. So let me make sure I just get these in the right order. And they were, you have to have a low proof, like summer sipper,
Low proof, yep.
a good cocktail mixer.
That's the
Summer
hard one for me,
cocktail
because I
mixer.
don't, other than the occasional old fashioned, I don't do a lot of that. So that
Well,
one,
there you go, whatever your old fashioned one is.
Well, yeah, but I use the bourbons that I don't love and I just want to get rid of.
Well, there you go.
But that's not what I picked. I picked a decent bourbon for this, or
Okay,
rye
well,
or
we'll
whatever.
get to that.
Yep.
The third one is a bourbon to drink on the rocks.
Another problem
Category.
category.
We'll get to that. A wheated bourbon, which is interesting. I like that he
Totally
included.
like that.
Yep. And then one that is a good summer sipper, but you feel like it shouldn't be, which is interesting.
I thought it was an interesting question, and I'd like to wonder, what was he thinking? What was he thinking? I mean, honestly, why would you come up with that question?
I actually like it.
Oh,
and I
do
remember
too.
what he picked for his. So when we get to that category, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
So do you want to start out and go ahead and go
I can
first?
start, yep.
Okay, let's see your low proof sipper.
So actually, I'm gonna have to turn around a little bit to get the bottles. I like this first choice because in the summer I thought I kind of like lower proof in the summer.
Sure.
So
That's a pretty common thing because, summer heat. I'm picturing more drinking these outside,
exactly, I would think so.
with the summer theme. And yeah, sometimes a barrel proof one is a little too much.
Yeah, so I went with the Penelope 4 grain, 80 proof.
Sure.
So we did a review of some Penelope stuff over the past few months. Really like the brand. It's an MGP source, but great product. And this 80 proofer was actually a shock because it's really nice. It is, of course, 80 proof, and if you're into cast strength stuff, totally, then it's still gonna be 80 proof. There's no hiding that. However, it is nice.
For an 80 proof, I would say if you're gonna go to 80 proof, that's a great option. All right, I didn't go quite down to 80 proof, but I did go to 90 proof. I went with, bam, this is a bottle I killed not that long ago, but I still had the bottle. Russell's Reserve 10 year. Absolutely cannot go wrong with this.
It's a great choice.
10 years, so you get a lot of the flavor, but you don't have the higher proof. Easy to find, easy on the budget. Wild turkey juice, I mean, what more can you even say about it?
Oh, that's so funny. So I can now, for those of you playing at home, I can see Ben's picks over there. Mine are hidden in a bag. He can't see what I picked.
Yeah.
But I purposely chose to not go with the big dog distilleries a
On
little bit.
all of yours?
One of them I kind of, it's a pretty big distillery.
For those of you new to the channel, every time we do one of these lists that has a specific criteria, Greg always finds a way to not follow
The rules?
the criteria or add his own criteria over the whole thing.
So I totally had a number 6 pick because there's a 5. And I left it alone. I'm not gonna, it's somebody else's list. I'm only gonna introduce 5 whiskeys.
Okay. So you followed the criteria, but you kept them all within smaller distilleries?
Yeah, it's just more interesting. And, yes, of course, I could pick Wild Turkey 101 to fill any one of these categories.
Sure.
Or other Knob Creek stuff, or,
Well, let's see the mixer bourbon.
Okay, mixer. The good thing is, this is the one I wanted to have a pour of. If I can find
As
it.
you said at the beginning that you picked one you don't really like for mixers. What?
I think this is going to be controversial.
Yeah.
But the reason I picked this, and this, I think this one could have hit a couple of different categories on this list. I, for the most part, have mentioned that I do old fashions when I do mixers. And I put cinnamon in with my simple syrup. And so my old fashions have a very fall, kind of heavy vibe. And I also do the, not trash bourbon, but lower quality bourbons that I just kind of want to get rid of.
Yeah.
That, I don't want to drink neat, because we do a lot of reviews, unfortunately. But I had the thought, what if we do an old fashioned with a really nice bourbon, or in this case, a whiskey, Tennessee. And it works great. And I think it is, I've always thought, I don't notice the difference in bourbon when you're doing a mixer, but I think you do, or at least I'm starting.
And so this is good?
It's way better than just your trash, whatever bourbon that you want to get rid of.
Okay, because I was a little confused for a second there, because when you started, you said you tend to use bourbons you don't like,
and I
from
love
small
this.
distilleries, so you chose a bourbon you like from the biggest distillery on the planet.
Exactly, and so, exactly.
So on this side of the bar, what you get is following the criteria rigidly. What you get over here is a lawless wasteland of confusion and, a lot of fun. So good choice, I guess. Well, I mean, it's a great choice for what you went with. The road to get you there is...
Welcome to the mind of
reckless
Greg.
abandon. Okay, so my cocktail mixer is, and I tend to make old fashions too, but I have found it's BAM, Ancient Age, or any other, like you were saying, kind of bourbon that you're not really into that's low proof and not very good.
Yeah.
One great summer
this
cocktail.
Is so good. I just had to pour this. Man, that's good.
One summer cocktail I found that I think is really good. It's called the Cherry Bourbon Smash, and I should probably do an episode.
Yeah, I think we
on
should
that
do
because it's kind of complicated, but it's smashed cherries. There's a little bit of lime or mint simple syrup and some lime juice, and it's fantastic. And I have found that you can make it with virtually any bourbon so far that I've tried, and it does not make a difference. I've tried it with really nice stuff. Tried it with Old Forester 1910 because I get a nice cherry vibe off of that, and I've done it with Benchmark and Ancient Age, and I cannot tell the difference.
Okay.
And so it's a great cocktail for taking some of these lower shelf, kind of the 80 proofers or whatever. Like, I don't really like Ancient Age, and I bought it for the channel. Sure. It's a great way to get rid of bourbon that's just not that great.
Yep, and typically that's the majority of my cocktail type mixing and stuff is.
Yep. I would not, however, use this in an old fashioned. A little too weak for that.
Okay.
But for the Cherry Bourbon Smash, which is a fantastic summer drink,
sure,
all the way.
Okay. So
all right, so the next one is your Bourbon on the Rocks.
Actually, I'm going to disagree with you there. It's a whiskey on the rocks.
Oh, whiskey on the rocks. Actually, it was whiskeys. They're not all bourbons, even on his video.
And I need that distinction for this one for sure. Again, I don't tend to drink whiskey on the rocks.
I don't either.
However, a finished rye on the rocks could work.
Oh, there you go.
So I went with an apricot, Martinique rum, Madeira, and apricot brandy barrel finished rye whiskey.
Seagrass, fantastic
Seagrass,
summer whiskey.
Amazing summer whiskey.
Yeah, I could see that one holding up to some ice.
Yep.
So as you said, I just never, ever drink whiskey on the rocks. Nothing against that. That's just my personal preference. If you like your whiskey on the rocks, more power to you.
Right.
Now, if somebody serves me a whiskey on the rocks, I'll certainly drink it, but I just never, ever choose to do that. So there's not a bourbon on this shelf that I would really
honestly, you probably have never really had any of these on the rocks.
Not most of them, because I just, I don't particularly like my whiskey cold.
Yep.
Even in the summer, and I just don't like it getting watered down.
Yep.
But if I'm going to do that, it's got to be something high proof and low price.
Yes.
So even though the limited availability, we are going BAM Benchmark full proof, because I think that would stand up to the ice pretty well with the high proof, and it's a $25 bottle. I'm not going to take an $80 Elijah Craig barrel proof and throw ice on
ice cubes in it. Yeah.
And that's just because I like this stuff so much. If I'm gonna let something water down and make it cold and put my whiskey into a state that I'm not really super into, it's not going to be one of my favorite ones. But this is a great bourbon on its own, though.
When the distillery adds water ahead of time, it costs less money. So you just don't want to ruin
right, there you go.
a good whiskey, and doing it on your own.
So the next one is a wheated bourbon.
A wheated bourbon. Who makes wheated bourbons?
Ooh. I know of one company that does. There's one
yeah,
over here.
That's funny. I knew that there would be one of those on the bar, so I decided to go all the way to Colorado.
That's awesome.
This is a wheated bourbon, in this case, from Old Elk. Now, Old Elk has been kind of transitioning from 100% sourced MGP juice to some of their own stuff. This happens to be some MGP juice.
Is that a store pick or is that a regular?
It's the Wright County pick.
Oh, okay.
6-year age stated and great.
Yep. I have really liked Old Elk's weeded product. Whether it's the wheat whiskey,
Old
which
Elk
we've
is
had.
doing is great.
Yeah.
Their prices have definitely, or at least around here, they've really stepped up. And
Yeah, it's just like the Barrel. It's an expensive brand to get into for sure.
Yep.
All right. Well, if you watch this channel regularly, you'll know something about me. I think whiskey tastes different when you drink it outside. And part of that, for me, the experience is the smell of it is so much different, and maybe it's the humidity in the glass. We've done experiments with this. Every single time, being outside adds a layer or sometimes takes a layer away from it, for me personally.
I will say Ben is consistent that he does not prefer whiskey outside. So
Well, I enjoy it outside.
Yes.
If I know it, but I wouldn't do a tasting of something brand new outside because it just wouldn't be... But I still like drinking whiskey outside for sure.
But even when the bar was torn up because of your flood, we had to film some episodes in the garage. Mm-hmm. Ben literally would pour, or go inside, pour, and have a sip inside before we actually filmed the review, just so we could have the full experience.
Just to make it objective. But of all the whiskeys, and again, I do like whiskey outside.
Oh, yeah.
But I particularly love, Maker's Mark products. In particular, I'm going to choose this one as on my shelf. This is the 2021 FAE01.
But any of the higher proof, kind of store pick, private selects.
Exactly. If you don't have this particular one, any of the wood finishing series, whether it's one of these, from the different years, or it's a store pick, will work just fine. Or a 46 cast strength, fantastic outside. But I picked this one because I remember this one had a little bit of a fruity vibe to it, along with the wheated vibes.
Yep.
And so, my kind of go-to summer outdoor bourbon is a Maker's cask strength, whether it's the regular cask strength or the 46 or one of these. Which is interesting because, again, you sometimes don't associate being outside in the summer with the cask strength, but I think these just hit perfectly for that.
I will admit that during today, as I was putting together this list, the regular Maker's Mark cask strength was my contender for this one. But then I saw this one and thought, you know what, this one's really good.
It is.
It is a special single barrel, but it's still awesome.
All right, so the last one is the one that you think shouldn't work, but does. And I don't know if you saw your drinking buddy's video, but he actually picked the Seagrass as the one that you would think wouldn't work. And his reasoning for that, and as he was doing this list and listed out the criteria, I kind of knew which one I was going to pick, and I went kind of a similar vibe as him. But he was saying that with the rye, you associate that more with a little bit of a spicy vibe, and it kind of maybe typically would remind you of fall, but the finishing on that really brings out those summer vibes. And that was actually on one of our lists of good summer whiskeys.
So all of that criteria and kind of the thought behind that process is what went into my pick.
Okay.
But I totally went in a different direction. Obviously, summer, I like lower proof. So you're kind of out, hanging out with neighbors and stuff, and you just don't want to, drink a super high proof and fall asleep in the chair. So lower proof, probably going to be around a campfire.
So good summer night bonfire?
Yeah,
sure.
Exactly. So that led me to Basil Hayden Subtle Smoke.
Oh my Lord. Well,
you don't think it's going to work. I just had a pour of it.
Send your hate mail to greg@thebourbonnote.com. Is that, or no, is it? I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's something like that.
You're going to get shredded for that.
That's okay.
But hey, you know what though? Whiskey is whatever you like to drink. And
this one is you don't think it's going to work, but it actually works around a campfire.
And I would probably agree with you because I think when we reviewed that one, for what it is, we just don't like Basil Hayden in the, or at least I don't like it because of the price. If that at like $7 for the bottle, absolutely, that's a great choice for a summer night bonfire. But you're right, it is low proof, which is our main grievance with the Basil Hayden products. But go ahead and explain yourself.
That's your grievance. I think there's a total market for people who stick to 80 proof. And so they're clearly trying to stake out, and they totally have staked out the luxury 80 proof bourbon lane.
The luxury.
Yeah. So
making people believe it's luxury.
It's a little bit too expensive for what you're getting in the liquid. Because Knob Creek at 100 proof or 120 proof is very similar.
Old Grandad bonded, same mash bill. 100 proof.
So you can find the exact same whiskey cheaper, but they're doing the really nice bottle. And I really do like their line of the wine finish and the toasted and so on.
So I see what you're saying, the subtle smoke for a summer bonfire. You want the smoke vibe.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not mad at that.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. Like I would not have guessed that would be one that would work. But I mean, yeah, I'm convinced. I mean, I'm not convinced in the sense that I would do it, but I see your point.
Okay.
All right, so mine, again, I kind of went a similar route with this. I went with the BAM. This is Doc Swinson's Exploratory Cask Funky Drummer. This is an MGP rye at, 105.3 proof, but it's finished in Jamaican rum casks.
In rum casks?
A couple of times, and it's fantastic.
So we've had a couple of rum casks recently. Mm-hmm. That's a new lane for us, and I really like it.
Yeah, and we did a review of this, and then we recently were on with Steven over at Tipsy Whiskey Shenanigans. We'd sent some samples out, and so we did a live stream.
Yep.
And all of us had a pour of this, and I think you and I were even more surprised at having it a second time.
Right.
Because that was the second time we'd had it since our initial review.
Yep.
And yeah, this is just a great, I know they're kind of, I would imagine they're limited in a sense that there's only so many of them, but it's not like it's an allocated thing to the best of my knowledge.
We see them pretty regularly.
Yeah, and I know Steven's got these in his area, so I don't know if they're hard to find. I would imagine they're probably not terribly hard to find, but yeah.
$70 or so.
I think this is a solid list.
It's interesting, and we really kind of went the range. Like, we didn't just do Wild Turkey for everything, even though they certainly could knock out all of the categories.
Yeah, I mean,
or Buffalo Trace or whoever.
We're obviously into a lot of variety of different bourbons, so you don't want to. I mean, there definitely are those brands where it's like, well, that just works for everything.
Yeah.
But what's the fun in that?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, this has been our list of summer sippers. Courtesy of your drinking buddy. Go like, comment, and subscribe. He's got a great channel, and cheers.
Till next time. See you next time.